All right, so our first review of the day is going to be for the film Joyride. Joyride is the movie here, starring a all-female, so led by an all-female cast here. It is a raunchy comedy. Also, you have majority of these female leads; they're all Asian. And when I saw the trailer for this, I was like, it's kind of basically like a Asian girls trip. Now having seen the movie, it's basically like a mix of like I would say Bridesmaids or The Hangover. Girls Trip 2 a little bit there. Girls Trip was the movie with Queen Latifah, Tiffany Haddish, also Jada Pinkett Smith was in it, and then Bridesmaid was a movie with like Melissa McCarthy. Also, what was the woman's name from SNL?
Kristen Wiig and
Kristen
Maya
Wiig.
Rudolph.
And you can see kind of some of similar personality types and like the group of friends that you have here. Like there's this one character in it who's called Deadeye, who I think she's absolutely like a scene stealer in this movie. And if like you're gonna like have anybody who really breaks out, like Stephanie Hsu, like she's already pretty much she's already kind of much blowing up after everything ever all at once.
Yeah, she's an Oscar nominee. If anything, this is on paper kind of a step down.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's kind of like the reverse of what happened. Like it's like if Bradley Cooper did all the Oscar nominated stuff and then did Hangover, it would kind of like be the reverse of that. But yeah, so she's already pretty much blown up. But I think if anybody's really if you're gonna see them pop up in a lot of places after this, it's probably gonna be the person who plays Deadeye. And the person who plays Deadeye in this, let me see if I can pull up their name real quick.
Yeah, it's Sabrina Wu who plays her.
Sabrina Wu plays her there. So I think she's got potential to really break out. But it's about these group of friends. So you have one of the leads here who's Audrey, played by Ashley Park. She's adopted. She was adopted by a white family. She's struggling with that thing of being adopted by a white family, of feeling, she doesn't really have connection much to her culture, much to her heritage. She does have a best friend who's Lolo, who's played by Sherry Cola, who she's was raised by her family, knows very close to her heritage, her culture. She speaks Chinese, whereas Audrey doesn't. And they just kind of went to different kind of trajectories in life, even though they've been best friends. Where she's Audrey's a big time lawyer. She's got to go to China in order to close this big deal. It's always in these movies. Sometimes it's like you got to close this big deal so you can make partner. That's always the big thing. You got to make partner, and so she has to do that to make partner. She's kind of overachieved in life. Some may say, whereas Lolo, she's kind of underachieved. She's living in her garage. She's living outside, like basically like Nick from Shaun and the Dead. Like keep them in basically the garage. Just kind of there hanging out. But they've remained close over those years since they've been, friends since they were little girls. And it's like, hey, I need you to come with me to China because you can speak Chinese. I need a translator there. When they go, they kind of meet up with some other people. They meet up with Stephanie Hsu's character, who's Audrey's best friend from college, and who Stephanie Hsu's character name in this movie is named Kat. And then also Lolo's cousin, Deadeye. That's where she also tags along as well on the trip. She invited her and tags along. And then, of course, in a raunchy comedy, there's going to be a lot of mishaps that happen, drugs, sex, alcohol is going to get thrown around, violence is going to get thrown around in this, and there's a lot of that. There's all those things and above in this movie for sure.
Violence and sex in the most hilarious way possible.
Yeah, violence, sex, and movies all on the big screen, all on there that you can watch.
Hollywood is back, baby.
So yeah, I would say one of the key things when you have a movie like this with an ensemble cast, the big thing is, do they have chemistry together? Do they work well together? And do they bounce off each other really well? And I would say that these actresses, they absolutely do. I didn't say they work really well together. I think there's a lot of great moments with them in it. And me comparing it to these other movies like Bridesmaids or Girls Trip or Hangover, you might see similarities there, like I mentioned, with some of the character traits of them. Like you have like the kind of the loser best friend and then the more, overachieving best friend. Like that was kind of the big thing in Bridesmaids, where you had Rose Byrne's character as opposed to Kristen Wiig's character, where Kristen Wiig's kind of was failing at life, but Rose Byrne's excelling at life. And you kind of have that kind of stark difference there. There's that kind of that dynamic going on. Plus with the Stephanie Hsu character, her being the best friend from college. That was also kind of the same dynamic in Bridesmaids, where you had Maya Rudolph and the kind of the trio there of they're kind of feeling jealous of each other a little bit. So you will see some similarities there in terms of that, but I think them kind of going into this different environment, because they do kind of hop around to different places, like in China, then they go to Korea a bit, new locale. You do have, these own kind of inside jokes there that is cultural, kind of Pacific heritage specific, that kind of work for the movie there. And this is written and directed by, I think this is a directorial debut for Adelaide Lynn, Adele Lynn.
Yeah,
Lim.
Adele Lim, who was a co-writer on Crazy Rich Asians and on Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah.
And so a reason that she left the sequel to Crazy Rich Asians is because Warner Brothers was offering her way less than her other co-writer, Peter Chiarelli. And they pretty much defended it, citing the experience between the two of them, but you can put 2 and 2 together. So instead of returning to co-write Crazy Rich Asians 2, she decided to just make her directorial debut with this. And I think she actually knocks it out of the park, because it's very hard to direct a comedy. You kind of fall into that world of, let's just let all of these people improvise and we'll just cut together the best stuff. And sometimes it works when you have very skilled improvisers, like in movies with This Is the End, which I think is probably one of the better ones of those styles of comedies. Or you get freaking and pick a Melissa McCarthy movie.
Yeah. And these actresses in this, I'm not too familiar with them. I know Stephanie Hsu, but I'm not too familiar with the other people. The woman who plays Lola, Sherry Cola, she feels like a comedian, like she is a comedian. I don't know the other women's resumes, but her and the person who plays Deadeye, they feel like they could be professional comedians, or they've done stand up before. I don't know if you know the resume of these other women here too much, but yeah.
Sherry Cola is a former stand-up comedian. I think on her Instagram there's like pictures of her at the Laugh Factory.
Okay. So I know sometimes it can be kind of tough when you have actors who haven't done comedy before, kind of be brought into an ensemble, because you're mixing it with, sometimes professional comedians who know how to maybe do it better than, actors who need maybe more of a strict, rigid script. I forgot the name of that movie. What was that movie with Scarlett Johansson and Zoe Kravitz? I forgot the name of that.
It's like
movie.
Mother's something.
I think it was like Girls Night Out, or
Girls Night Out.
I think it was something like that. Anyway, you could see the difference between, like, you had more kind of professional comedian women in that, and then like actors like Zoe Kravitz and Scarlett Johansson. It's like, you don't really vibe that well, here in this kind of environment here. But I don't think that's the case here. But I'm going to pass it around, get you guys thoughts on it. Nick, give me your thoughts on Joyride.
Okay, so I really ended up loving Lim's work on Crazy Rich Asians. It felt to me like I was seen in a way that I hadn't really been before by a Hollywood movie. Seeing a primarily Asian cast in a movie like this, and it's getting great buzz and great word of mouth, and to see the movie and it's actually good, because so many of those end up kind of sucking, or they kind of being victims to the hype. I feel exactly the same way about Joyride. I was kind of turned onto it because it was going to be, an all Asian cast. It's going to be a raunchy sex comedy, which we haven't really seen in a very long time. And I'm happy it's a subgenre that's coming back thanks to films like this, and thanks to No Hard Feelings. But what I didn't expect is how hard emotionally this movie would end up hitting me, especially toward the third act, when we spend more time with Ashley Park as Audrey, and we see more of her backstory, and how that issue of identity when you are, an adopted child, how that affects you as an adult. And it was all done very beautifully.
Yeah. Dusk. Give me some of your thoughts here.
I didn't see it.
Right, you didn't see it, right? I'm sorry.
It was wonderful. I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, sorry. What do you think about this trailer? Review this trailer.
Okay.
What do you think about
it looks like a raunchy sex comedy.
You better say
Yeah.
something nice, or we take away your rights to the ramen shop.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been years since I've been to a ramen shop.
Yeah, I do agree. Like it has, good emotion to it with her backstory. And just that feeling, that again, being close to your heritage, what that means, where you come from, how important is that? And you kind of see those different kind of turns in this movie, as Audrey's going through kind of a character journey here, with that of, her saying like, I've never really fit in anywhere, her and Lola grew up in a predominantly white environment. So them kind of feeling like outcasts there because of that. And then, even when she goes to China, the mainland, her, supposed home here, she feels out of place there because she doesn't even speak Chinese and she's trying to fit in with all these people here and just doesn't understand a lot of that. So, that was kind of interesting there to see that on the screen. Again, it brings a difference there compared to something like Bridesmaids or something like, The Hangover. It brings a little bit of that difference there, seeing those. And when it comes to the, like this being a raunchy comedy, I don't think it's only sold by the fact of, hey, it's, you see where chicks shove cocaine up their pussy, an asshole or something like that. It's not just sold by that. I think there's also some other good, like some raunchy comedies are only there because like, hey, look at us, look how crazy we can get with certain things. I don't think this movie only relies on what crazy thing can we do next, to get even to top to top the next thing. So I think they do a good job at that, of balancing it out there, and do some good funny moments. I think they work well in the formula that they have. It being, one of these type of movies, like I said, you're going to have the traditional formula, the group of friends. Eventually, there's going to be the falling out moment. There's going to be the moment where, a lot of these have the drug moment. They have like a random celebrity cameo in here, that, you kind of, that comes into play, which actually is one of the, better scenes. Like when they actually go to the hotel, I think that's probably one of my favorite scenes of the movie there.
Scene that I think is in the trailer with Baron Davis.
Yeah. When Bear did. So again, that's like the random celebrity, maybe sports cameo that harkens back to something like Mike Tyson or something like that, and Hangover. Even though I think he does a good job in it. I think he does a pretty fine job in the little bit he's in here for. And I think there's a good back and forth here with a lot of them that works really well. And even some of the kind of supporting people here. Who was the guy that was the businessman they were meeting?
Ronnie Chang.
Ronnie Chang comes in here,
who's been in pretty much any time there's a Asian role in Hollywood, he's more often than not the guy to call. He's also a longtime correspondent on The Daily Show.
Yeah, he comes in here. He does a good a job here as one of the businessmen she has to meet to close the deal. There's also like her boss in here, like Audrey's boss, who's white, who's the guy from Veep. I forgot his name.
Timothy Simons.
Yeah,
that every time he was on screen, I was laughing, and it was always the but I'm an ally. White dude.
He's the overly conscious, I don't want to get canceled white guys. Like I don't want to say nothing. You know what I mean? It's gonna get me in trouble. It's gonna get me HR on my ass. I appreciate you and all your work, everything like that. I mean, he comes in with a lot of good spots there. That work really well. So yeah, I mean, even you got some good supporting people who come in and I think do a good job. So I kind of enjoyed this movie quite a bit. What would be your final thoughts and rating for it?
For me, my final thoughts and rating, I'm glad that you brought up the comparison to movies like Bridesmaids, to stuff like The Hangover, even to a certain extent, films like Old School or Something About Mary, where a lot of the appeal of those movies was the fact that they got that raunchy. But something that I disliked about those movies is they always had one character that was so insufferable. I cannot realistically believe that somebody would choose to be friends with them. And that is not the case here. I ended up liking every single one of these characters. They all had distinct personalities that they brought to their dynamic, and it was all fun. And they all bounced each other so funny. And Ashley Park, I think she is a future superstar because she is incredible in this movie when she is asked to carry a lot of the emotional weight in this. I had a fantastic time with this movie. I give it a high tune in. Even the whole K-pop sequence that in the trailer, I was kind of cringing at it, but in context of the movie, it's actually pretty fun and a pretty solidly well-directed K-pop video.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see that. I wonder if that's like on like their YouTube channel or something like that, or Twitter.
I
For
hope
official.
so. And it has probably one of the bigger punchlines in the movie.
Yeah. And I was kind of wondering. I asked. I was like, "Is that really Stephanie?" Like, is that really?
We can't.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a good gag at the end. It comes to, I think, a good gag at the end. Yes, I would agree. I'd give it. I wouldn't be so high on. I wouldn't give it a high tune in. Do I think it's one of the funnier movies you can see this year? I don't think so. I think I had a better time with probably like The Blackening. I think it's still my top favorite movie of the year. Funniest when it comes to humor. And then I think about it, I'd give it the same kind of feeling I have towards No Hard Feelings. Even though I think No Hard Feelings maybe ends a little tighter. I think when it comes to like when it tries to wrap up here in Joyride, I think it's a little sloppier than something like No Hard Feeling. I think No Hard Feelings has a more tighter ending than this does. But yeah, I would kind of give it kind of a similar kind of feeling about how I felt about that movie is how I kind of feel about this. And I would kind of give it just a tune in for it, just a kind of plain gotta tune in for it. I recommend checking it out in theaters. I mean, hey, people, you probably got the money. You ain't seeing The Flash. You ain't seeing Indiana Jones. So if you want to see, maybe have a good time in theaters, like, man, what can we watch? Man, hey, check out Joyride. And there's a lot of also for the women out there. There's a lot of good looking guys in here for you.
Oh yeah, what was that one dork on Twitter? Was it Lights Camera Jackson? It's like his critique was it targets white men and it objectifies men. I was like, shit, sign me up.
Yeah, it's our time. It's yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's the one guy, you have a lot of really good looking guys in here. There's the scene when they go to the hotel. There's Stephanie Hughes, her love interest in here, who looks like a very, very handsome Lord Marquardt from the Shrek movies. Like, he looks like a was it? Yeah,
that was the first thing that came to mind. It was like, this motherfucker looks like Lord Farquaad.
Yeah, Lord Farquaad from the Shrek movies. Yeah,
he looks like Giga Chad Farquaad.
Yeah, that would be a good actor. And that's not an insult. I mean, really good looking guy. It's just, I think it's the hair. It's the hair that really does it. I think that really makes him look like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And apparently that actor is going to be in Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, cool.
So it can suck?
Hey, there's always hope, man. Better sequels. I'm
knock on wood, fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. They had a Liu Kang in the first one, and they didn't make him the main character. He just showed up to use a fireball. We'll see.
So yeah, high tune in from Nick, and just a tune in for me for Joyride.